Did you know that over 1 million people will die this year from heart attacks and cancer, and another 500,000 people will have bypass surgery? Pretty staggering numbers. About 2.5 years ago, I made the decision to cut all meat and most dairy products from my diet. This decision was made after my 40th birthday when my husband took me to lunch and I splurged on a bacon cheeseburger. I got about halfway through and I had to stop. I was so sick looking at all of the grease that had saturated the bun and was all over the plate. I couldn't eat anymore. I had a friend who had become a vegan because of some issues with his family's health, and he had cut all meat and all dairy products, and I was really intrigued by that. My father had died at 48 years old from a massive heart attack. He didn't drink or smoke, but he did have a diet that was full of fatty meats and dairy products. I really didn't want to leave my family in that same situation, so I decided to make this decision. And becoming a vegetarian has been something that has been hard for my family, but I know that we are better off for it, and I wanted to share a little bit of that with you. So when explaining to someone why I don't eat meat and why people shouldn't eat meat, the first thing that I do is try to talk to them about what it is that makes our bodies different than animals, than really carnivores. So there's a few things that make us different if you want to look at the makeup of our bodies. So first of all, carnivores have sharp teeth, and that's for tearing flesh and for eating meat. Carnivores also have sharp claws. We don't have those either. They perspire through their tongues. They have an intestinal tract that is 3 times the length of their bodies, and they have very high levels of hydrochloric acid in their stomachs. This really helps them to digest that meat. It helps their bodies break down that meat. The last thing that is really kind of important to think about is if you've ever watched Animal Kingdom and you've watched a lion attack an antelope, you know that they go straight for the belly area. They eat all of those internal organs which are full of blood. When we eat meat, we cook it, we season it, we slather it with A1 barbecue sauce, Tabasco, ketchup, mustard, slab it in between a couple of buns, and that's how we eat it. So we really do eat it quite differently than actual meat eaters. We would really be more considered an omnivore. Omnivores have flat back molars, which help them to grind up their foods. We do not have those sharp teeth. We perspire through our skin. We have an intestinal tract that is 5 times the length of our body for slower digestion. And we also have 20% lower hydrochloric acid in our stomachs than meat-eating animals. So that makes it very difficult for our bodies to break up meat like the meat-eating animals do. So when you talk about digesting meat, it's important to know that meat will sit in your stomach for 14 to 21 days when it is being processed. So it sits there for 14 to 21 days and rots. So 4 hours after we eat it, it starts to putrefy, and then it breaks up and attaches to the lining of your colon. So when it does that, it just kind of sits there and rots. Like I said, 14 to 21 days, and I don't know anybody who wants something that they ate sitting around for that long in their stomach. The second thing that's important to realize is that during that slow evacuation process, when our body's trying to process it, it's creating something called uric acid. That uric acid is not good for us. It helps to break down food, but in meat, because it is so difficult to break down, the large amounts of the uric acid make it very hard. So what happens is that uric acid can cause kidney issues. It attacks that kidney, breaks down the kidney cells, can cover liver toxicity, and can also lead to mineral deficiencies. And it's also been linked with heart disease and cancer. So the third thing to think about is when an animal is slaughtered, it has fear and aggression enzymes just like we do when we have our fear, flight, reflex. So those enzymes actually rush to the muscles in that animal, and you get to eat them when you eat that animal. The fourth thing comes from Dr. Stanley Hazen. He's a doctor who has done a lot of research and states that carnitine, which is a chemical found in eggs and red meat and dairy products, has been linked to atherosclerosis, which is the hardening of those arteries, which makes it very difficult for blood to get into our important organs, our brain and our heart and our lungs. It makes it very hard for that. The National Cancer Institute claims that there are direct links between red and processed meat and various different types of cancer. So it's important to realize that there are links there, and it's important to know that when you're making your food decisions. So let's talk about proteins. Proteins are what people think they are getting when they're actually eating meat, which is really false. So people think about protein. They talk about protein with all sorts of diets. There's the Atkins paleo, there's protein shakes, protein drinks, protein bars. Protein's really everywhere in our diet, and it is important, but you need to make sure that you get the right source. Medicine.net states that Americans actually get 5 times the amount of protein they actually need because they're so obsessed with these protein diets. The protein that they get actually causes problems for the kidneys and mineral deficiency because it is really in excess. And the protein that they get is actually very poor quality as well because of the incomplete amino acids. Our bodies are not able to process it right. So 1 tablespoon of tofu or soybeans actually has more protein than a serving of meat. A good sources of protein would be veggies, fruits, nuts, and legumes. Something else to consider is food poisoning. E. coli is the leading food poisoning illness that people get, and they get that mostly from meat. So you need to know where your meat is coming from. A recent article in the American Heart Association Journal researches that for every 50 milligrams of processed meat that you have over the daily serving, so like an extra 2 slices of turkey on your sandwich, will actually increase your risk of dying of a heart attack by 38%. That's a really high amount. It's very, very scary. So cholesterol is another issue. Cholesterol is found in red meat and high-fat dairy products. So anyone with any sort of heart disease really should stay away from anything with cholesterol. So why fruits and vegetables? It's because they're better for you. Lower incident of disease, lower incident of cancer, lower incident of really pretty much about anything bad. So I hope that I've given you something to think about. And the next time you're shopping or eating out, I hope that you consider your food choices a little bit better. Diets full of fruits and vegetables are obviously going to be a little bit healthier for you. Listen to your body, and the next time you're eating that double cheeseburger, I hope that you will listen as it's crying for help like mine was. Thanks, and have a great day.